And then the last one we talked about was Robert Spillane. Now he signed his tender, so it's good to see that he will be back. And for me, man, I think this makes perfect sense. We talked about for where Spillane was from a contract standpoint, this was going to be the best option for him. And I mean, the team believes in him, right? We saw where he was able to come in and make some plays, right? And then even hold off Avery Williamson while he was healthy and then come back and take the spot back from Avery in that wild card game. So it's going to be interesting to see, if he can continue that play, if he can continue to be more of what we saw in that earlier span before he got hurt and less about that wild card game where he struggled a little bit. But it's one of them things, man, because we said before when we talked about Avery in terms of our confidence with this linebacker group, if Avery were to leave and if Vince Williams were to get released. And now that scenario is here. I don't like our core right now. I don't. I think that we definitely need to make some, whether it's free agency or draft, I think we got to add another piece to that room. Devin Bush coming back from ACL surgery, Robert Spillane, we talked about him a little bit. UG3, still very young, still hasn't had a lot of availability. And then we know with Marcus Allen, we say he's more of a converted guy, right? That makes me a little nervous, though. I'm not going to lie. I'm as it sits here, March 17th, 2021, I'm definitely nervous with that group going forward. Now, they could surprise us. And Spillane could continue to play the way that he had played earlier on. If that's the case, then we'll be fine. But if not, we could struggle a little bit. We could definitely struggle a little bit. So that's my only thing with that. I think Spillane coming back is a huge asset, though. You definitely want to keep people like that there. But I think we got to make another move.
Am I wrong for just feeling a little bit more optimistic than you? A little bit excited of that Devin Bush, Robert Spillane potential, or even Marcus Allen being that third guy. Mm-hmm. I do like Spillane probably more if he is the guy that you rotate in a little bit. But, man, I don't know what it is, man, because we lost Devin Bush. And with Spillane coming in and playing like he did, I'm just thinking if we can combine both playing at a high level, it could be interesting, man.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. The common denominator for both Devin Bush balling out the way that he did and when Robert Spillane was balling out, the guy that was beside them a lot of the times was Vince Williams. He's the communicator. He's the guy that sets everything. He's the guy that flies down and makes all the action happen from a run game standpoint. We talked about how he was leading the league in tackles for loss for a large majority of the season. We saw how the defense struggled mightily, both from a communication standpoint and from a physicality standpoint when he was out. That's my only thing. I'm like, I hear it. I want to go there with you, but I can't lie to myself like that. I just know what type of player Vince was and what he brought to the table and how playing next to a guy like that can make you play a lot faster. We talked about even Avery Williamson. We saw when he was out there with Vince, he played a lot faster, looked a lot better. When Vince wasn't out there with him, struggled a little bit because now you got to think a lot more. Now you got to pick up the lion's share of a communication standpoint, both pre-snap and post-snap. It's different. It's a lot different. And then, like I said, none of those guys brought to the table what Vince brought to the table from a physicality standpoint, play in and play out. We know Robert Spillane had the big hit against Derrick Henry, but his play is still different than what we expect from a Vince Williams on a snap in and snap out basis. So that's my only thing. I do think, obviously, that Spillane, Marcus Allen, UG3, they give you a lot more from an athletic ability standpoint, but from a above the net game of just physicality, tone setter standpoint, we definitely lost that in Vince. And we don't have that on the roster at linebacker right now.
Sure. That's definitely fair.
Yeah. And we need an identity. We saw what that identity looked like in the wildcard game when we weren't physical on defense, when we weren't physical against the run, where we weren't, this, we're going to smash you in the mouth type of defense. It looked bad. It looked really bad. And right now, I'm just looking, I'm just like, man, we don't have that thumper. We don't have that person that's going to make you scared to run against us. And in our division right now, Baltimore wants to do what? Run the ball. The Cleveland Browns want to do what? They want to run the ball. We know with the Bengals, they're a little different, but they still got a man ever running back at Joe Mixon as well. So to me, that's the only thing that makes me just, like I said, a little leery and why I feel that we need to bring somebody else in. Just another piece. Now, it could be a veteran that's a backup.
Okay.
And I'll be fine with that as long as you're doing the rotation, kind of like what you said, right? With Spillane and those guys. But if you're not planning on doing that, then you definitely got to get you a guy, whether it's earlier in the draft or something. But I feel like we're a little thin right there, man.
Would you be good with third round?
I mean,
or is that too late?
I don't. Just know the later you go, what you're going to be expecting from that.
Don't expect it's with anything though, because if we wait on left tackle or center, then it's going to be the same situation.
Exactly. So you pick your poison, right? I feel like since you give Banner the deal that you give to that they gave him, I think now you see linebacker potentially earlier on. I don't think it waits the third. I think it could be 1 or 2 now, because the way they gave that contract to Banner, that says, hey, he is your answer at tackle. So you could look at center or guard, and depending on how the organization feels about JC and BJ, that might determine, they might be saying, well, hey, we don't need to get a guy.
True. Are we going to keep
second round there?
Would we keep 3 centers? Although BJ is more of guard and center, he's more of a hybrid. Yeah. But still, I mean, we got 2 guys on the roster right now.
It's only one guy that the two JC and BJ both play center and guard. So if you're the team, you might be looking at them and saying, hey, we feel confident in whatever combination we use between BJ, JC, Dotson, and DeCastro that we think will be fine on the interior part. We got Banner, he's going to step up and play left tackle, and we obviously got Chooks at right tackle. They might be confident going forward with that. And if that's the case, then we could easily see linebacker at 1. I mean, what's up, Zaven Collins? I mean, we might see that,
For sure. Either that or running back then, because offensive line, maybe you could wait a little bit longer on that if that's what they're thinking. Now, how do we feel as fans and analysts of that? It is what it is, but
I mean, this is my only thing. That it is what it is. It makes me nervous because we talked about with 7, he needs time. Is that going to give him the most time? That's what we got to find out, man.
Right. We'll see. You could spin it all in a positive way, man. Dotson having a coming out party in his sophomore year. Banner living up to his potential.
Okay.
Maybe BJ Finney or JC Hassenauer being like just a solid starter. DeCastro turning back the clock. And then Chooks just playing solid. You could spin it that way. But all the things have to align.
It's a lot of spinning. That's all I'm saying. That's a lot of spinning, baby. But hey, we're going to hope for the best, right? We should definitely hope for the best. But you can just see how one could be very concerned about the state of the offensive line going forward if no other movements were made. You could just see how one could have that opinion. That's all.
Sure.